everyone, my name is Nicole de Haas, and together with Suzanne Tempel we founded the Phoenix Fellowship in 2019. David Thompson, Physical Medium from New Zealand, is our very special guest today. David, it's a privilege to have you here, so thank you for joining me.
My pleasure.
So David, most people know you as a physical medium, but you also worked, and especially also in the past, in different aspects of mediumship. So could you share with me a little about your journey?
Sure. I came into mediumship when I was about 17 years old. I'm now 55, so quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
I come from a family of spiritualists. My grandmother was a spiritualist, and she used to attend and take services in and around the London area. My mum, she's mediumistic, but she chose not to follow that pathway. Mm-hmm. She's had various experiences through her life, and I got to about the age of 17. I got this real, I don't know, it's like a drawing within to go to a spiritualist church. And I kept walking past one and thinking to myself, oh, you know, maybe I'd go in. Yeah. You know, I was a bit nervous. I was a little bit frightened, to be honest. Yeah. But anyway, a friend of mine said that they wanted to go, and, you know, would I go with them? So I saw that as my opportunity. So I went, and that was it, really. I kind of just went from there. And after going for a period of time, I used to help out in the church. You know, I'd do things like hand out the hymn books, etc. Yeah. And they asked me to come onto the church committee, and it was only a small church in a small town. So I thought, why not? Well, one particular day, I was chairing the service. First time I ever did it. Okay. And the medium, and there was a husband and wife medium team. The man did the address, and the lady did the communication. Yeah. Well, they were late. And anyway, I was waiting outside the church for them, and all of a sudden the car pulls up. Out gets a man, and there was no lady. And that was, I could even remember the name. It was Ted Weller and Erica Sanders. Anyway, what happened is I said to Ted, Ted, who's going to do the communication? And he said straight away, you are. And I said, but I've never done it before. He goes, oh, you'll be fine. Mm. And it happened. And then from that day onwards, for many years, I did mental mediumship, and then that went into trance, and that went into physical. So it was just like a progressive thing that occurred. Yeah.
And how many years were there in between the start of your mental mediumship and the start of your physical mediumship?
I would say at least 10 years. At least 10 years before I started. And, you know, I didn't actually actively go to look for physical mediumship or trance. I always said I wouldn't do trance mediumship or get involved with it because I hate the thought of not being in control of my own faculties. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed to go down that pathway, and I just accepted it as it unfolded, and that was it, you know. So I never sort of went out and thought, oh, I want to be a physical medium, or oh, I want to be a trance medium. Yeah, it was just a natural progression from where I was. The pathway just led that way.
But did you get a particular sign or a message, or?
No.
It was just a feeling, a natural unfoldment.
Yeah, it was just a matter of what happened is I'd heard about physical mediumship, and it was back in 1994, and there was a Noah's Ark seminar. Yeah, and I went along to this. You know, someone said to me, "Oh, do you want to come along?" So I thought, "Oh, why not? I'll have a look." Yeah. And that was my first experience of physical mediumship, really. And I went along and sat with Colin Fye in his seance. He was a vice president at the time, I believe, of the Noah's Ark. Anyway, nothing sort of happened in regards to my participation there, just as a participant. Anyway, the following Sunday after the seminar, I was doing a church service at a spiritualist church in Maidstone in Kent.
Yeah.
And I was doing the address, and during the address, I mentioned about the Noah's Ark seminar that I'd been to. Anyway, two people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, they were at that seminar," and I don't recall seeing them, and they didn't recall seeing me. Anyway, we got talking, and they told me that they'd lost their son, and them along with a group of other people were sitting together to develop mediumship, because they wanted to try and get communication from their children, you know, and they didn't have a medium. Was I interested in coming along and sitting with them? So, you know, I thought I wasn't sitting in any circles or anything like that. So I agreed to do that. I went along, and during the sittings, I fell into trance. And then the rest just followed from that. Yeah.
Cool.
And that was it.
Yeah. So have you always known that you are a medium?
I had experiences when I was a kid, but I got to the age of about 12, 13, and I learned how to just shut them out.
Yeah.
So from the age of, say, 12 or 13 to when I started attending the spiritualist church, I didn't have anything. But I had sort of sporadic experiences when I was a kid. You know, I didn't see spirit all the time or anything like that. I had experiences.
Yeah.
You know, I used to see people, but it wasn't every single day. You know, it wasn't. A lot of people say, "Oh, I saw spirit a lot as a child." I don't think that's necessarily true of most people. I had some experiences, but you know, if you look at from when I first can remember, which must have been about 6, 7, in relation to 12, it's only a 6-year period, and it wasn't a daily occurrence. So I would say in that period of time, maybe I had 20 to 30 occasions, but that was about it. And over 6 years, that's not a great deal, really.
Yeah. But you grew up in an environment where mediumship was familiar, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother was a medium, and my mum had a belief, but you know, it wasn't actively pushed forward, but it was there, it was accepted, and you know, any experiences that you might share, you know, it wasn't sort of dismissed or pushed to one side. It was just accepted as being part of the norm. So it's treated quite naturally.
Yeah, exactly. So what was the most important thing that you have learned so far during your development as a medium?
Once you get to a point of mediumistic development, more so understanding how mediumship works, or your mediumship works, you should cease to continue to actually develop the mediumistic faculty, because you know it's like relearning the same thing over and over again. What you need to do is to refine it. So that's what workshops and things like that should be, to give you the opportunity to refine the faculty you have. One of the main things I've learned is self-development, especially with physical mediumship, trance mediumship. There's a necessity that you need to continually do that, be mindful of yourself. And it's, you know, it's not the concept of spiritual development where you have to change your personality or believe you need to change your personality to be a spiritual individual. Proper spiritual development is about self-development, self-awareness, inner development, knowing the person that you are, good, bad, and indifferent. And a lot of people misunderstand that concept, and they think that spiritual development is about being fluffy and shiny and nice to everybody, and it's not.
No.
So as a person, if I was embarking upon a pathway of development, once I understood the concept of what clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance is, and healing and other forms of mediumship, and I could get a basic awareness of spirit, I'd then be going to circles and workshops to refine that.
Yeah.
So you're not actually yet learning how to be a medium because you already have that capacity. You're learning how to refine it and use it.
Yes.
And coupled with that, in ordinary everyday life, I'd learn to develop myself inwardly as a person. You know, because that's the thing that will make you aware of yourself, aware of your sensitivities, aware of your good points, aware of your trigger points, how you react to certain things. Because the more you can control that, the better your mediumship is.
Yeah.
Because the more balanced you are. The more balanced you are, the stronger your vibration, the easier it is for the spirit world to interact with that vibration.
Yeah.
So your vibration is not fluid, it's not changing all the time, it's stable. And that's what the spirit world needs. And that answers the question of why some people say, oh, so-and-so isn't a very nice person, but they're a very good medium. Well, they might not be a very nice person, but their vibration is stable. So the vibration that they are is stable.
Yeah.
And that's what made Gordon Higginson the person he was. And people such as him, Estelle Roberts, they weren't superhumans, they weren't super spiritual. They were people who learned about themselves and were happy within themselves and stable within themselves. Yeah. And the more stable they were, the easier it was for the spirit world to communicate with them. If you look at the sea, when the sea's calm, the ship can sail through it quite freely. But when the sea's rough and there's big waves, it's going to be buffeted and thrown all over the place. Well, it's the same. If you look at the ship as being the spirit people and the sea as being our vibration, when it's calm, the spirit people can reach you. When it's rough and there's big waves, it's hard.
Yeah, I understand.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you also think that's the main difference between the development in physical mediumship and mental mediumship, the personal development part?
Yeah, most definite. Most definite. A lot of people, a lot of people embark upon development of mediumship primarily because they just want to be a medium. They want to tell their friends, oh, I'm a medium. Or they come into mediumship via personal loss. Very few people come into it because they think to themselves, okay, I know about mediumship, I want to develop it and I want to understand it. There's always a reason behind it. And I think when people come into mediumship, what they tend to do is it's like anything. They see the thing that most people are in awe of, and that's what they want to do. So some people consequently come into it to just understand it, and then 5 minutes later they're a physical medium.
Yeah.
Or they're a trance medium, or they're a mental medium.
Yeah.
It just can't happen like that. If it could happen, and you was able to attain mediumship in that fashion, then there's some very astute people in this world who aren't necessarily spiritualists or mediums would have used it and understood that now and harnessed that, would they not?
Yeah.
But yet they haven't.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes your self-perception upon why you want to be a medium is very important.
Yeah.
So, and your motivations are very, very important, because again, all of that affects your vibration. And if it affects your vibration, it creates a rough sea.
Yeah. So
if it creates a rough sea.
Yeah. So what is your motivation?
Well, initially there wasn't any motivation, as I said. But in relation to the physical mediumship, the reason why I continued down that pathway, and I didn't have any expectations of the outcome of any of it, and I still don't to this day. But my motivation was the first materialization and communication that ever took place. It was for a lady that I'd met and her husband, and it was their child that was able to materialize and be reunited with them. And I saw the impact that it had upon them, and the change that it had upon them. And I think that when you see that, you experience that firsthand, the effect it can have upon people. How can you not, as a individual, as a person, how can you not follow that pathway and think, well, I have to do this? And it's not out of a sense of love, light, and I want to help other people. It's more of a sense of obligation to humanity, because if all that we say and do is true, and I have an ability that I can help people and make an impact on people, and I just go, oh, no, I can't be bothered, then when I return to the spirit world, when I go to the spirit world, surely I'll be accountable for that in my own spiritual growth. I don't think anyone will say, oh, why didn't you? But it will be seen within me, and I will see it within myself. And when you see something within yourself that that could create regret, that regret, if we retain our personality, will be there in the spirit world.
Yeah.
And then that will ultimately impede our progression. So it's a sense of obligation, I think.
Yeah, I recognize that. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to. You can't. How can you? If you have something, how can you say, nah, can't be bothered? Think of all the people you could help. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with fame, fortune, or anything like that, because many, many, many years ago, when I first started embarking upon mediumistic pathways, especially, I can remember William, my friend in the spirit world, saying to me one day when we talked about going down that pathway, and he said to me, his words were, young man, he said, if you embark upon this pathway, there'll be people that will ridicule you. There'll be people who will say things that will hurt you. And I, being young at the time, I said, I don't care. And he goes, but most of those people will be within the community that you walk within. And I was like, oh, okay. But I still sort of carried on. And he said, and also, you'll never be rich, but you'll never want for anything. And it's true. I've never been rich. I've never been, like everybody. I'm average. I'm normal.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that being a physical medium that's known by people is glamorous. Like a little bit of that rock star type of persona. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's ridiculous.
A lot of people think that, when you travel, you travel a lot, I travel a lot, and people think that we stay in, luxury hotels and stuff like that. But actually, we live from the suitcase. On those.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you did, but hey.
Yeah.
No, it's no fun when you're stuck in economy class, jammed in on a flight, flying to the other side of the world, and then if you're staying at a hotel, you're staying at a Holiday Inn or a budget hotel, and
yeah. Yeah. So, David, is there anything that you regret doing or not doing when it comes to your own development?
Yeah, I regret not listening to the spirit world earlier on in my development, because I think that I had guidance, and a lot of it in my early years with mental mediumship, I disregarded because I thought I knew better. So, and I think one of the things I do regret is listening to people in the physical side of life, because a lot of people ought to be experts in mediumistic faculties, but, not very many people are, to be honest.
No.
A lot of people can talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. My attitude is, well, show me. If you can do this, show me. And then when you're able to show me, then I'll respect you and I'll listen.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will always say, "Oh, I'm this and I'm that," and you yourself and many other people who have experienced it. They say, "Oh, I can do this, I can do that," and they say, "Oh, come and look," and then when you come and look, it's delusional.
Yeah.
And I think some people, when they come into mediumship, they suspend their ability to be able to really understand and justify and discern. It's like because it's something that no one knows about, and it's something ethereal. People tend to lose a little bit of the old common sense. I've seen some very strange things. So the answer to the question is I should have listened to the spirit world earlier on and not people. Exactly, yeah. And that's exactly what I do now. I listen to the spirit world. So if someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, yeah, if you do this and you do that, and that will help," and I listen because out of politeness. But unless I understand and see that person's ability is strong of the spirit, then I just will again be polite, but I won't listen. I'll just listen to the spirit. Yeah. Because they know me. William knows me better than anyone. And believe me, over the many years, I've had a lot of advice from people on the spirit side of life, but I've equally had just as much advice from people on the earth side of life. Yeah. And if I'd followed the earth side, I wouldn't be talking to you now. That's exactly what I always say. I would be doing something very different now. Yeah. Yeah. As people like yourself that facilitate workshops, you don't teach, you guide. Yeah. So you nurture people, you help them to realize their potential. Yeah. You don't make them mediums. You don't say, "Oh, I'm going to make you a medium," or you don't give them that secret, plan on how to be a medium. You facilitate the ground for them to be able to develop and nurture their abilities and help them and guide them in ways that will hopefully help them to see their potential. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah, and that's all we can do as teachers. We can't make mediums. Only the spirit world can develop us. Yeah. Yeah. But there's a lot of people out there that will say, "Oh yeah, I can do this and I can do that, and I'll make you this, I'll make you that." Well, I'm sorry. Make yourself it first before you make other people it. Then maybe that will give you credibility, and people will then learn. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. On behalf of Suzanne, because Suzanne within the Phoenix Fellowship, she runs courses on personal development, consciousness development. So how do you feel that consciousness development is related to physical mediumship? That's a question she wants to ask you. I think personally that it plays a big part in it. I think through the work that Suzanne does, it highlights aspects of the psyche, the conscious mind, that sometimes we don't, or are unaware of, or we don't see. It shows us where we are within that spectrum of development of self. So I think personally, my opinion is I think it's invaluable, because I think it highlights areas that even we ourselves don't see, and people who aren't versed or trained in that area won't see either. Yeah. So I think it's a good tool to to highlight aspects of us that give us an indication of where we are in our development.
Yeah.
And our consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because any form of awareness aids you as a person to make an informed decision upon your mediumship and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got someone in front of you that is giving you the capacity for what they're doing to say, look, this is where you are, here's the evidence of where you are, this is what you can do to help you to overcome this obstacle, it's got to be a good thing. It's got to create the calm waters, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in my experiences with Suzanne and her what she does, 100% behind her. Yeah. I think it's a great thing. And I think it's underrated because for some reason it isn't out there as much as what it should be. Mm-hmm. And I think if it was more available by experienced people, not just someone that just goes and buys some equipment and sets it up, by experienced people like Suzanne, I think that it could make a huge difference to mediumship. Yeah. Yeah. And self-development.
Yeah. And also perhaps a form or way within the science aspect, to get things more clear to do with physical mediumship eventually.
Yeah, it could be seen like a bridge between science and mediumship.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just because there is a gulf between science and mediumship, and which is understandable. Yeah. And the way mediumship is nowadays. Yeah. And I think that would be a fantastic tool to really open that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
So personally, I'm all for it. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what advice would you give others, people who are watching this, students perhaps on our workshops? What advice would you give to them on the pathway, especially of trance and physical mediumship?
I would say the development of any correct form of trance or physical mediumship isn't something that can occur in a short period of time. It's something that can take even years to develop, and you're still never going to develop it fully. One of the main aspects of any form of mediumship, altered states mediumship, physical, etc., trance, is to obtain that deeper state, catatonic state. Again, that can only occur with the spirit world's help to induce that state at a certain stage in your consciousness. That can only occur if the waters are calm. So hence the necessity to continually self-develop as well. Mm. So I would say, if you're going to embark upon the pathway of trance or physical development, do so with your eyes open and your mind open.
Yeah.
And don't necessarily believe that you're going to, it's different. There's so many forms of physical mediumship, and there's so many forms of trance mediumship. Trance is something, is from an altered state to a deep catatonic state.
Yeah.
Not everybody has to be in a deep catatonic state.
No.
It helps, especially where the physical is, but it doesn't have to occur. And always be honest with yourself. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in other people's perception upon your mediumship and what is occurring in it. Mm. Because often you see people who potentially have a good ability, and people start to place them on a pedestal, and their mediumship deteriorates because their ego takes over. Mm. Always keep your feet firmly on the ground and think, well, I'm me. I am the person that I am. Mediumship is a part of me, but it's not the total sum of me. And as a person, I need to live in this world in a way that I can navigate emotionally and spiritually with the least amount of fuss, and that will help my mediumship.
Yeah.
See, people concentrate always on developing the mediumship. It's like banging your head against the wall. Develop yourself. The rest will follow. If the ability's there, the rest will follow. So if you've got some form of altered state, the more you develop yourself, the more the deeper states will come.
Yeah.
You know, and then from the deeper states, forms of physical mediumship may transpire. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the best forms of physical mediumship I've ever seen was transfiguration. And that was in lighted conditions.
Yeah.
And that was witnessed by at least 3 or 4 other people when it occurred. And that had one of the most profound effects upon me in my early years of mediumship. And I wasn't a trance or physical medium at the time. So,
yeah.
Be realistic. Be realistic. You know, if you're realistic with yourself and your mediumship, it goes a long way. You know, some people can become so fanciful and so caught up in the glamour and saying to people, oh, I'm a medium, or oh, I'm a physical medium or a trance medium, you know, that they lose the concept, they lose the ability, they lose the rationale and the reasoning. Stop doing that. Keep your feet firmly on the ground, live a normal everyday life, try and understand who you are as a person, try and become the best person you can be, and the rest will follow.
Yeah.
You know, once you've got that foundation, the rest will follow. Don't try and be anything different.
Yeah.
When you start to try and be a different person to what you are, then you're not being true to yourself. And when you start not being true to yourself, then you're not developing yourself spiritually, because you're not seeing yourself. And when you don't see yourself, your mediumship won't develop.
Yeah. But perhaps that's one of the hardest jobs for people, to really be honest with themselves and to see themselves as they really are. And perhaps that could be one of the reasons why there are so few physical mediums.
You know, that's very true. Because, you know, my normal work that I do now, every day I deal with people who have done things and that normal people would never do. And you look at them and think, well, to them it's just accepted. And I look at them and think, aren't you registering in your mind that what you've done is wrong? And some people genuinely do not. You know, there's no excuse for ignorance. We all know the difference between right and wrong. Unless we're mentally incapacitated, we all know the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
So we know if we're fooling ourselves. You know, you can make out that you don't, and you can make out that you know, that, and you can kid yourself. And that's dangerous. When people are doing things like that in mediumship, it's dangerous. Because what's happening is you're purporting to help people who have lost people, who have been traumatized in life, who are seeking solace to know that their loved one lives on, and you're dealing with people in those situations, and you're not stable enough in yourself to do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you stop kidding yourself. Discernment. William said that to me for many years now. Always discern. Discern within yourself, discern within your mediumship, and discern with others. And that's why my friend circle is very limited. And the people I have close to me are close to me, like yourself.
Yeah.
People who, you know, who I don't consider to be of that same mind, You know, as Desiderata says, stay away from people that are vexatious to your spirit.
Yeah.
So, you know, why encourage yourself to be around situations that can ultimately affect you emotionally, psychologically, and vibrationally? That's not preservation of your mediumship.
No, no, definitely not. No.
You know, I think that being involved in a spiritualist community can sometimes impede your mediumship.
Yeah.
Because you're involved with people who are, at times have so much self-aggrandishment that they lose sight of other people around them and only consider themselves and how great they are. And that affects the overall vibration of people around them. You know, whoever says they're great within the world of mediumship isn't.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah.
They're not.
No.
Because if they need to voice that, why are they voicing it? You know, anyone that displays ego or intolerance of others because of their mediumistic abilities isn't a medium. They may be able to use a faculty, but they're not a medium. They're not of the spirit.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. And why would you want to mix with people like that?
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah. 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 Good. So I've asked all my questions. I don't know if there is anything else you wish to add, or just some final words for the viewer.
Yeah, I'd like to just share with you something that came to me. I did a church service with Lonnie and my partner just recently, and during the address, it touched on COVID-19 and the current pandemic that the world's experiencing, and the transition of many people to the spirit world.
Yes.
And I said to everyone gathered, maybe like them, why didn't the spirit world let us know it was happening? It was going to happen. Well, to be honest, I don't think that they knew. You know, I don't think that they knew. Did we know? Only when the pandemic started to take hold. Well, why should they know?
Yeah.
You know, they're not responsible for our world, or we're not responsible for their world. There's two parallel universes working in unison together. It connects together, but are two different stages of existence. You know, and some people's perception is that they spend all their time watching us, what we're doing. Well, I don't think for 1 minute they do. I think that they live a normal earthly existence, the same as what we do. You know, there's channels of open to them of communication with our world, more so than from our world to their world. But I don't think that they spend all their existences thinking about us and what's going on in our world. I think that they just live a normal existence, the same as what we do. You know, maybe there's groups of people over there that do exactly what we do, you know, wish to communicate with our world. But I'm sure that, you know, the millions and millions of people that are in the spirit world aren't necessarily concerned about communicating. And they just get on with a normal life over there.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of our perceptions in relation to the spirit world and how it's run and the functionality of it and what it actually is vastly wrong. I really do. You know, one of the main questions people always ask is, oh, what do you do over in the spirit world? Well, the same as what you do in the earthly world.
Yeah.
You know, how do we know that they haven't got some form of currency like we do, money to buy food or shelter? How do we know that they haven't got that? Well, the possibility, if it's an ordered society, which we believe it to be, then they must have some sort of rules in place. They must have some sort of if there's a necessity for them to have something to sustain their vibration, there must be something that occurs there.
Yeah.
You know, people don't become angels and fairies when they pass to the spirit world. They're normal people until such time as they progress beyond that vibrational state. They're normal people. So they still have the likes, dislikes, and wants and emotions.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just live an existence in an earthly life for, say, 70 years and all of a sudden switch off all your emotions and feelings, be they physical or mental emotions, and just become something different. It's impossible. If that's the case, it just goes against everything, every concept of the spirit world.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then in the spirit world probably never knew about COVID-19. So what do we do when many people die from a pandemic? In the respective country that you live in, okay, the body is either, depending upon religious beliefs, the body is cremated or buried, correct?
Yeah.
Right? Well, the spirit lives on and goes to the spirit world. So as we are having burials here and cremations here on a greater scale, or maybe they ramped up their side of the spirit world to bring in and welcome more people coming over. Yeah. Can they stop it? Well, I'm sure there's minds in the spirit world, great minds that have gone on in the spirit world that are trying to influence those who are trying to find a vaccine for it. But then again, you know, if cause and effect and a fate, etc., are great, there's only so much help they can give us.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, they can't, all of us, let's be honest, if they've got infinite great minds over there, which they have, we know they have, why doesn't someone come through and go, oh, here's the antidote for it? Why? Because there's only so much they can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, thinking from a discernible, logical point of view, do you think if there is a governing body of sorts within the communities or in the spirit world, do you think they let any person come forward and give information on such a topic like that it could end up damaging human existence in the physical world and take more people over? So they have to have some sort of ordered structure there to say, right, this person's qualified in this particular way. They can inspire this person working on this vaccine for this virus, but there's only so much that they can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's stupid to think that they have all the answers, because they don't. If they did, why haven't they given them to us?
No, exactly. I agree. Yeah.
And you know, by being illogical in your approach and your thoughts and emotions and indiscernible in your perceptions of the spirit world, that damages the spirit world, because you're acting like would be said in the Bible as a false prophet. You're giving false information.
Yeah.
And when you're giving false information, people will believe that. And then when they try and communicate with the spirit world because of the false information that you've given and are unable to, it affects their self-esteem, it affects the vibration within them, it just pushes the spirit world further away.
Yes. And that's the
Be truthful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always be truthful to yourself.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, David, for your inspiration and sharing your knowledge. It was as always a pleasure to talk to you. So thank you.